And it's recording. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Voice of Western podcast. Again, I did it. That's crazy. Okay, one more time. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Voice of Western, the Humans of Western podcast. If you're new, welcome. This is a podcast where we dive deeper into the personal lives of students, staff, and faculty of Western University. I want to welcome our guest today, Rachel Macaulay. Rachel is the director of external communications at Brescia, right?
Director of Communications and External Relations at Brescia.
Yes. Yeah, we'll be talking today about a variety of different things related to her education history, her job, and just, I guess, just whatever we end up going to. Yeah, if you want to give like a small, also, our co-host Rose again.
Hey, everybody.
Okay. Near perfect intro, I'd say. Yeah, you want to do a little introduction for yourself, Rachel?
Sure. My name is Rachel Macaulay. First and foremost, I'm really thankful to be here. So thank you guys for inviting me. It's a great way to start off my Friday morning, despite the snow that I'm looking out at right now. Yeah, so I'm the Director of Communications and External Relations at Brescia, which is Western's all-women's affiliate. I've been here full-time since about July, and I started part-time in May when I was coming off my maternity leave. I love it here, and I'm also a very proud graduate of Western, so I'm really excited to chat today about my education and hopefully learn a little bit more about you and Rose as well. So thank you for having me.
Yeah. Rose, you want to start with the first?
Yeah, so let's start with your Western history. So you mentioned that you're a Western alumni. Do you mind talking about perhaps what degree you took? And yeah.
No, not at all. So I went to Western from 2008 till 2013, technically. So I got my honors specialization in English literature. And without sounding cheesy, it was one of the best things I've ever done. I loved my degree, especially once I got through first year, kind of the first year jitters. And it's a little bit overwhelming when you go and you realize what a big difference it is from high school. But once I really got to sit with my professors, get to know them, the quality of faculty at Western is really unparalleled. And an English literature degree is so much fun. I think I read, I don't know, I would say safely say probably thousands of pieces of literature, and you learn everything from modern literature, so something that we might be reading today casually, or all the way back to Shakespeare, Middle English. And it really gives you an incredible breadth and depth of understanding of history, politics, and then obviously the nuances of literature. So you learn to be a great writer, a great presenter, and you also get that incredible piece of the humanities degree, which I think is more important than ever because it actually quite literally teaches you how to be a good human. It teaches you how to empathize with other people and just to really think critically and understand there are a lot of different worldviews out there that you should be open to. So I loved my degree. After I finished my 4-year specialization, I went on to continuing studies also at Western, and I got my public relations diploma, which set me up to kind of transition from a student and more the academic lens into a professional, and I've carried forward that career piece ever since.
That's really cool. How did you know you wanted to do that after your English degree?
So I think like many undergraduate students, I kind of had an idea of what my path was. But at the time when I was graduating, I had initially wanted to be a teacher, and the competitive landscape for teaching was extreme. So I'm a pretty risk adverse person. And I thought, you know, if teaching weren't to work out, what else could I do? And I can't remember if it was one of my professors or my classmates had said, well, you know, you're pretty loud. You like to talk a lot. You seem to like people. So, but you also love writing in English. Have you ever thought about public relations? And I looked into it. And of course, immediately I'm thinking Samantha from Sex and the City. I'm like, that would be the life. It's not quite like that. But I was like, oh, that's so cool. I'll still get to write. I'll still get to tell stories. I'll get to communicate with a lot of people. And then I looked at the different organizations that had public relations, communications, marketing portfolios. And in London and the surrounding area, we have some really amazing employers and some incredible nonprofits. So there was a lot of opportunity there. And yeah, I did my internship through my public relations diploma. So I got to kind of get my feet wet without fully committing one way or the other. And I absolutely loved it. So I was really happy to find something that aligned with my skill set, but also my personality and my passion, because if you don't like your job, that's a really difficult thing to wake up to every single day and put your best foot forward. So public relations just kind of fit, and I've been in all different industries ever since. So yeah, it's constantly just evolving and learning new things to be better at my job.
Really
Well,
great journey.
yeah, I actually have a question about that. So I'm in my last year, well, supposed to be my last year of university. And so as a science student, I find it really daunting to think about my future and the careers I want to do, because it seems like it's so limited. A lot of people think, oh, if you're in science, you should be going to like med school or whatever professional school there is. So I was wondering how you navigated the careers that you wanted to pursue after graduating, because I am really scared about my future.
Oh, don't be scared. That would be my first thing. So anything I say today, I just want to give the caveat. This advice, let's put that very loosely. I'm not in any position to be giving everyone advice, but this is what worked for me. I think you kind of got to try what works for you. Also, do I see the signature green cap of Sriracha behind you? Because I love Sriracha. That's amazing. Okay. So I would say some really good things to do is try and get work experience. And when I say work experience, I don't necessarily mean going in and getting a job. I think doing what you're doing, being on this podcast, going to events, doing networking, volunteering, that's all work experience. And something that's shifted since I graduated is just looking at all the experiences you have and being able to sell them. So I think before it was, you have to have 3 to 5 years of work experience for an entry-level job. And it's like, well, I'm not sure how anyone's going to have that when you also want us to have an undergraduate degree and. So just looking at the skills that you've developed in your particular science degree and seeing how they can translate into a number of different jobs. So just an example would be if you were interested in something like marketing, you know how to research, you know how to analyze large quantities of data and pull out meaningful information. That's what marketing is. By writing lab reports, you know how to be a great writer, you know how to be concise and persuasive. So it's just kind of looking at that degree and seeing all the different skills and being willing to brag about yourself. I think that's something that young people hesitate to do. And, research shows, especially women will not apply to a job even if they have 90% of the qualifications, whereas, their counterparts will apply if they have 50%. So don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And certainly when you're looking at different career paths, go with the thing that sounds like it's going to pull you towards it. And also the organization. If you go to an interview and your gut's like, no, we're not having good flow, you're probably not going to be very happy there. And it's really important when you're starting out your career to have a good mentor, to have someone who wants you to be more successful as them. So they will link you with professional development. They'll give you different opportunities. So just be open, be willing to brag about yourself, and realize you really do have a lot to contribute. Like being on this podcast, that's a really unique skill set that would be amazing for any organization. So just go from there. And networking. Even to this day, I cold call people on LinkedIn all the time, shamelessly. I'm like, I see that you also read this book 5 years ago that I have now read. And I just start the conversation. And do I always get responses? No. Do I always get the responses I want? Also no. But sometimes I really hit it out of the park and you connect with someone who can really help you to get somewhere. And then in turn, when you're in that position you want to be and people are reaching out to you, you make sure that you pay it forward, because that's how it's got to work.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Good advice. I think I don't know if it's cold calling, but I had like a job interview that I was really excited about, but also like nervous about. And like, I don't have LinkedIn because I don't want to say scared of LinkedIn, but I think that like it seems like a daunting place to be. But my
Have to
friend
have
had
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn.
You ought to
Yeah,
go. LinkedIn.
yeah, probably. It's a thing I'll do soon,
Okay,
eventually.
good.
My friend had LinkedIn, and we used her account to find somebody with the exact same job. And then we messaged her on Instagram, and it was a really good experience because like she just gave a lot of information about the job interview process and like how she enjoys the job. And I think it's a really insightful thing to just use
Mhm.
LinkedIn as a platform to network and to cold messaging people can never have like a negative effect on you past response you're gonna get. So it's always a
Yeah.
nice experience.
No, that's great. And I think if you can build a connection, so Rose, if you have something you're really passionate about, whether it's your podcast or a particular thing you've studied, if you reach out to that person and pick something unique, like really look into their profile, and if they say they have a dog or whatever, then it's like, let's connect about that rather than it just being a very generic cold call that they can tell you copy and pasted from one person to another. So yeah, we'll definitely keep in touch. What are you thinking about doing for your next step?
Well, I'm staying another year at Western because I'm taking two majors. So one is an honor specialization in bio, and then I'm doing a major in ecosystem health. So I don't have all of my required courses done. So I need to add another year. But after that, everything's really up in the air. So hopefully soon I'll get back to you and I'll let you know.
Well, it sounds like a fantastic degree, and that should have been another piece. Take your time. I really went from school to internship to job and carried forward. You don't take your time and build the life that you want. There's no rush. Like if you're making decisions, whether they're small or big steps towards your eventual goal, it's all going to be worthwhile. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. You're going to be great.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's really good advice. I think like I I don't like thinking about the future that much. So I like tend to only think of like, oh, next year, this is a kind of thing I want. I think like I thought of what I want to do after graduation, but only one specific thing, and that's probably not a great idea because if I don't get that thing, I'll be like, oh God, that's everything I had. Um, I think that like it's easier for me to like live in right now and like have the future be tomorrow and the future be like 3 years from now when I have to do something entirely else because I'm not gonna be me in 3 years
Yeah.
exactly. So hopefully I just keep making tomorrow a better version of me until I decide know what I am for the future.
That's perfect. And, when you're doing that by doing things that feel right and feel authentic to who you are, that's a really great way to build a foundation for a future. And yeah, the future can be next week. It doesn't have to be this looming thing. I always, you always hear like, I'm going to go and find myself. And one of my favorite professors at Western, Professor Alison Conway, she used to talk about that concept. There's no finding yourself. You're already here. And so what you're doing is you're building yourself every day with every experience. And whether that's, an amazing trip with your friends or volunteering or whatever, like there's no external you. You are who you are, and everything that you do builds towards that. And just don't make yourself small. Like that's one thing I think we'll chat probably about my freelance writing. London, Ontario is yay big. Canada is beautiful, but it's also one part of the world. Like you can go and work somewhere else. It's not that unrealistic. We live in a digital ecosystem. So definitely go elsewhere and get on your Duolingo, work on a second language, go meet other people, do some freelance, do some consulting, whatever, but explore the world, meet new people. And like that is experience you can put on your resume, even if it's just something that you've chosen to do as like self-guided enjoyment.
Yeah, good segue into your freelance writing. But first before that, I guess I wanted to talk more about like what your career history has been since your public relations diploma.
Great. So yeah, as I mentioned, I started with an internship. So I started at Pillar Nonprofit Network in London. where I had a phenomenal leader. She just really taught me a lot about what the nonprofit sector looked like, how it can function better. And I got to meet a lot of different organizations that are doing amazing things in London. And I would say that was really important for me because I grew up in London, Ontario. I went from one school to the next. I hung out with very similar people for a lot of my life. And I think I should have done more in terms of getting out in the community. But once I was at Pillar, I saw the world from so many different perspectives. I saw the drastic need for people to come together to make the world a safer, more sustainable, and equitable place. So that really set the tone for my career because it showed me like profit isn't the only thing. Like you need to be proud to wake up every day to do what you want to do for work. So that's why I was very happy to land in the university landscape, because I think it's a beautiful balance between sort of like a business mindset, but you're also doing something good for the world. And better still, you're empowering, or you're supposed to be empowering young people who will do a lot of amazing things. So it's kind of that ripple effect. So I went from Pillar and then I worked at Children's Health Foundation. So that's the fundraising arm for Children's Hospital, Thames Valley Children's Center, and CHRI. So it funds all the different elements of care for pediatrics, which was incredible. I loved that. And at nonprofits, I would highly recommend them to people who are just graduated because you have a small team, so you wear a lot of hats. So I was interacting with media when I was 21 years old. I was doing all the social media. I was writing proposals for fundraising. And in a big organization, you're likely to be a little bit more specialized, which when you're trying to figure out what you're really passionate about, it doesn't give you quite as much opportunity. So working at Children's was fantastic, and not to mention the story element. Like I met kids who are far braver than I will ever be, and mums and dads, and the things that they've gone through were just so eye-opening for me, because I mean, back then I would stub my toe and it would be like, wow, this day is basically over for me. And then I meet these people who are, to say fighting an uphill battle would be a violent understatement. They were going through unimaginable things, and they were so compassionate and always caring about other people. So again, it just sort of reiterated to me, like, you have to step outside yourself. You have to look through other people's lenses and do something that's going to benefit not just yourself. So from there, I went and I worked at Canada Life for a very short 1-year contract, which was great because Canada Life is a huge organization. The marketing communications function is very complicated. So you do a lot of specialized work, and I got to see what a true corporation functioned like. It's a very fast-paced place, which I also loved because people were really expected to deliver on a high level of work. And that's great when you're still kind of honing your skills to be held accountable by people who are more senior than you to say, like, this is good, but you could do it better this way. So that was fantastic. And then I landed at Huron, so the other affiliate of Western, and I worked there for about 5 years. Again, absolutely amazing. I started at Huron when they were in a position where they really needed to grow, and I was on a 2-person team. And alongside the recruitment and advancement and the phenomenal president, Dr. Barry Craig, we really helped Huron get its name out on the international map and experience the substantial growth that it's still benefiting from today. So that was a real highlight. It was just incredible. And I always, when I was in the university environment, I was like, I'm staying here forever. And then when I was on maternity leave, actually, one of my previous leaders sent me the job at Brescia, and I was like, I'm getting that job. It was my dream job, like to have the feminist perspective combined with what I love to do, marketing, communications, storytelling. It was a dream job. And just further to what we've talked about being uncertain of your future, to be quite transparent, I actually applied for the exact same job 3 years before, and I didn't even get an interview. So I'm like, that shows how much growth you can have, how much things can change and shift. And I'm here and I love it. It's just an amazing place to work. I feel inspired every day that I come. So yeah, I think my career trajectory shows like lots of different changes, lots of evolutions, but nowadays that's what a career path looks like. So, you know, just go easy on yourself and go where it feels like you're going to develop into a better person, better professional.
Mhm.
Really,
Sorry, that was a lot. I just talked a
no,
lot. I
that is
apologize.
so fair. That's so fair. Long history you have. And I think that's just really powerful also that you were able to go through so many different changes in your life and like make learn new things and get new perspectives each time and like keep growing as a person until you are here where you are now. Um, I want to ask like questions about like, each of the individual jobs and stuff, but you also did not mention your freelance writing company that
Oh,
you
yes,
joined with.
sorry. I apologize. Yeah, so freelancing. I started freelancing in a small capacity just a couple years after I did my internship, so very early on, like 2015 probably, but it was just not something I did purposefully. It was kind of I had worked with a company and then I moved on, and then they're like, can we keep you on in a freelance capacity? And freelancing never even entered the realm of my idea. I never thought I was like freelance, you know, capacity. I thought that was like something people did after they had a long and illustrious career and then maybe did while they were retired. But then, you know, I worked for one person and then somebody might ask me to work on their website, and then that person would let someone else know that I'd done that writing. And then eventually, about 3 or so years ago, I had such a big portfolio of clients I had to incorporate. So I named my company, and this is probably not going to make a lot of sense, but I called it Spice Kitchen Communications. So my best friend, she's British and she also helps design houses. So in England, it's very popular to have something called a spice kitchen. And so that's where you prep all your food and you make everything messy. And then you have your like presentation kitchen where you lay everything out and pretend like you didn't just, you know, cause a complete explosion in the spice kitchen. So I picked Spice Kitchen Communications because I was like, I'll do all the messy work. I'll do all the, you know, hard writing and everything, and then I'll make you look good. So I incorporated my business a few years ago. And yeah, I've done everything for that. So I've worked with nonprofits a lot just because a big chunk of my experience is from that. So that would be anything writing like direct mail solicitations, asking for money. Website content is huge. Blog content is really big too. So yeah, I just sort of built a lot on word of mouth. And then I did start when I wanted to really build my business, cold calling people. I was pretty out there in my cold calling, I would say. Like if I read a website and found a lot of mistakes or found ways I could enhance the writing, I would like send a PDF of the page and be like, here's how I can make this better. So yeah, you just kind of have to believe in yourself and again, get over that idea of, oh, I can't do that, because trust me, I've both worked with a lot of freelancers, hired them, and been one myself. And there's very vast varying degrees of skill sets and specializations. And I mean, even Rose, if you're looking, there's lots of websites that focus on medicine, that focus on science, and they don't just want a great writer. They want someone who understands the lingo and can relay it to a lay audience. So there's just so much opportunity there. And I loved it. Get to do something new, not just every day, but with every ask that comes through. So it's a really good way to learn a million new things.
Are you still continuing your business currently?
So my job at Brescia is pretty fulsome. I don't have a ton of extra time, and I also had a baby about a year and a half ago. So baby plus Brescia doesn't equal a lot of free time, but definitely some of my clients that I've had for now, 8+ years, certainly if they need support with something, I definitely will help them. I've also, for some clients that are newer, I will refer them to other freelance writers who are starting out, because as I said, you have to pay it forward. People help me build my business, so I'm happy to do that. But it'll definitely just depend on the project, depend on my workload. I just need to make sure it's not kind of overstepping on anything that I'm doing at Brescia. But yeah, like I I certainly will still do things. I, have my cousin, she needs me to rewrite her website. Of course, like I'm going to help with that. Or if something really interesting comes along, I'm waiting for a famous person to ask me to write their book. So if anyone knows anyone, please send them my way.
Yeah, the podcast will go up. I'm sure someone will find it.
Okay, perfect. That's great. Is that all you wanted to know kind of about my freelance capacity? If there's any other specific questions, just let me know.
I think like I think it's interesting to like place it amongst the other jobs you've had because there's like so many different things that you went through. Um, like, were you balancing that while working at Children's Hospital as well, and while doing your Huron job as well?
Yeah, I did. And I mean, sometimes freelance writing, if you want to get into it, I would really suggest you have to set boundaries. It's easy to say yes to every single job and to commit to these outlandish turnaround times. But it's not good for you. Like there was many weeks when I was working like 80 plus hours a week, which is fine for short periods of time, but not really sustainable if you want to be doing it for the long term. So if you want to go into freelance writing, for anyone that might be listening, who's thinking of how to make a little extra money or how to, as I said, travel around the world and still have an income, definitely when you're speaking with clients, know that you also hold some power. They're coming to you, they're asking for something from you because you have a particular skill set. It's a little less intimidating to do as you become more senior, but even at the outset, if a client sends you a project and sets a turnaround date of 2 days or even less than like a business week, if you want to say yes, like know that you can charge extra for that. That's like a speed turnaround time. Or just as easily say, you know what, I already have several projects on the go. I would absolutely love to tackle this for you, but I'm going to need a few extra days. And very rarely, if ever, did I ever have a client say, no, we're going to move on to someone else then. Because a lot of the time they have someone on the other end asking for something and it's just a conversation. Like I can commit to doing a much better job giving this my heart and soul if you just give me an extra few days. And then you have that comfort for yourself to know that you're doing the best work that you can and you're also not overwhelmed. So certainly with freelancing, yeah, just balance it and be open, be transparent with your clients, because that's a good way to avoid having any sense of resentment. So if you send something away to a client, what's that going to look like for you? Are you going to include one round of edits? Are you going to be able to turn it around a certain period of time? What's that going to cost you in terms of time and human power? And those are all things that it's great to maybe talk to somebody who's had the same career to ask what's comfortable. Because if you Google, like, what's the average rate of a freelancer, the shenanigans that come up are endless. So you want to make sure you're not underselling yourself. And I didn't always do a great job of that. So sometimes when I was already working 40, 45 hours a week at my day job, we'll call it, then I would say yes to like these crazy turnaround times. And I'd be writing thousands and thousands of words in a 5-day period. And that's just, yeah, I would caution against that. But for anyone who's really extra determined, maybe that will work for them. But don't be afraid to advocate for yourself would be my kind of idea behind the freelancing career.
It's certainly a great direction for anyone who might be wanting to freelance or start that kind of career path at the moment. I want to go like back and forward. I want to like keep asking about freelancing, but I also want to like touch on the jobs you've worked on in the past. Just going like one step back, how do you think working at the 2 different affiliates? Well, there's 3, but like working at both Huron and Brescia is like different. And how do you think that like you've enjoyed or like the difference you've seen between the 2 different communities?
Great, that's a great question. Well, I think just the affiliate piece generally is amazing. It's such a huge benefit to students. I didn't even really realize how different the experience is, but the fact that when you're an affiliate, you get to graduate with a Western degree and you also get to take courses across all 4 campuses, I would say that's extremely unique across the Canadian undergraduate landscape. And it really lets students have the best of both worlds experience. So you have your home base at, Brescia, the affiliate, but then you get to go over to Western, engage with all the clubs, go to all the amazing events, and really be able to pick and choose and customize what you want your program, your majors to look like. So baseline, the affiliates, what they offer with their smaller class sizes. At Brescia, our class size averages about 25. Even in first year, we're looking at around 40 students. So to have that experience when you're just coming from high school, it's going to be a lot more similar rather than walking into a classroom where there might be 500 students. So I love that piece of the affiliate community, that you get that personalized care. In terms of the differences between Huron and Brescia, I think generally we offer quite similar courses and programs. There would be some distinctions. Like I know Huron has their amazing governance, leadership, and ethics school or faculty. I'm not sure exactly what it's called now. And then Brescia has the foods and nutrition arm. So Brescia's foods and nutrition program is unique, I would say, across Canada, not just within the affiliate campus. Come over here for a tour sometime. I'll take you around. You can see the food labs that we have. So that's really amazing because it combines people's love of like actual like food flavors and everything, but also the science behind it. And it's a very like tactile, hands-on learning experience, which is again unique to the affiliate community. In terms of differences, again, the all women's piece is so substantial and so amazing. So at Huron, of course, it's a co-ed environment, and at Brescia, you have the all women's space. So boys, men, male identifying students do take classes here, but in order to be a registered Brescia student, you would be female, a woman, female identifying, or a gender fluid student. So it really creates this like incredible, tight-knit, safe community. One of the biggest parts of my job is I interview students all the time. Like I wrote, it's right behind me, our view book, which is our recruitment piece. That was my first project, and I interviewed 35 students just to like find out what is great about Brescia, what's unique about it. And time again, the students I spoke to said, when I come here, I don't feel afraid to raise my hand. I feel like people actually care about what I'm saying, and I'm never embarrassed to say the wrong thing or to like share about my life in really deep and authentic ways. I think that's unique to Brescia, not just from Huron, but to any university in Canada, because we are Canada's only women's university. And so that would be really the distinguishing piece of Brescia. Brescia and Huron share great small class sizes, incredible programs, amazing faculty, but to see the way that we empower women here and we make specific programs, specific services that support women, and not just as students, but we really support the whole individual and help our graduates become successful in their careers. So that's kind of the big difference would be that all women's piece and just those very specific nuanced supports that we provide here.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, are you guys both? You're both Western, like main campus students? Yeah.
Yes, both Western.
How have you enjoyed your experiences?
I think I've definitely had to go through that, like from like small class in high school to like huge university classrooms. But I think it was a bit different. I think my first year was the pandemic year, so like everything was online. But then my second year, I had still had like huge classes like genetics and like cell bio, which are both online. I don't know why I said those examples, but I had like biochem, which is like a really, really big class, and like microimmunology as well, which is also a really big class. And like going in, I think definitely still like feeling like, oh, I just like shouldn't raise my hand because I might not have like the smartest thing to say. There's definitely like a big piece of like how comfortable I felt during my first semester on campus. My specialization right now is epidemiology and biostatistics, and
Cool.
I hate saying it. It's such a long name. It's a long name to say. But that's a really small module in the medical sciences program, and there's like less than 20 people in my cohort for this year for the program for the module. Um, and I think that creates a more open environment where like it's smaller, so you feel like you can like say things and like you can like talk to people about without like worrying like, oh, I'm like far behind on where this person might be, and like I shouldn't say, like say anything to them because like I don't want to like seem like I'm bothering them or asking them too much. And like even the professors are very nice and they're very like um open to different kinds of discussions and to try to just generally be really encouraging. I think I really enjoy it right now for what it is.
Good. That's great. And what about you, Rose?
Yeah, so I started before COVID hit. So the year COVID hit, that was my first year. So in 2019. And so when I went into my first class, it was like an 8:30 calc class, and it was like a sea of just like students. And I was quite intimidated only because one, I wasn't really good at calculus, and two, I felt like um the students I felt like they were really competitive. I felt like they were smarter than me and all of these things. And I also felt like I was just a number for the professor because the professor obviously didn't know my name. And so the overall first year experience was really tough for me because of that. And also, I'm not from London.
Oh,
So I didn't know anyone from my high school, or the students that did go to Western. I wasn't close with them. So I was like alone. I had to like navigate making friends, and it was just scary in that way. But after being here for 4 years, I really enjoy it. And in as you go older, the class sizes are much smaller to like the 500
yes.
student count. So I really like that. And just like how Emmanuel said, like his classes were really small. I have a seminar class that we're only, I think, like 16 students. So it's really comfortable to say what we're thinking, and to kind of um when a prof is saying something and you're questioning why they're thinking all of these things, it's just really easy to do that. And something that I really like about Brescia is that how it's like smaller classes. So I wish when I was in first year, I wish our classes were just a lot more smaller so
Yeah.
that it wasn't as intimidating, and we could have like a relationship with the prof and to really get to know them. And so that's one thing I wish they could change in just like the university
Mhm.
system.
Well, and I think, I mean, both of you just touching on the COVID piece, kudos to you guys for making it through that. I mean, I was already in my career, I was working at Huron, so that was completely different. But for you guys to make it through university and to still be succeeding and involved and energized is so phenomenal. I think about the students who missed out on 2 years of high school or 2 years of university, and not just to miss out, but that isolation piece. I think that really affected a lot of people so deeply. And I kind of hear, oh, COVID's over, but it's still, we have those ramifications that as a university and as a community generally, and just as individuals, we need to recognize that we really did miss out on that connection piece. And so for you to say, like, I love being in a classroom where I have conversation, I think your generation and all those people who were affected by COVID are really seeking that as well, because being behind a screen and trying to learn complex material, or as I touched on, the humanities, trying to develop that empathy muscle and that sort of like EDID perspective when you can't really genuinely engage with people, it's so challenging. So I think it's remarkable that our students have carried themselves forward and had that self-agency and resilience, because I don't know if I could have done it. So in of itself, if you're looking for your experiences to move you forward in your career, like pulling from that and everything that it COVID demanded of you. I think that's really something that's remarkable and something that's kind of gets brushed aside. But for students in high school and university, it's really incredible that you're still successfully completing your degree. So you should feel really proud about that.
I think to go back to like big class sizes, one of the first things I had to get used to a lot, and I think it was biochem the first time, class of like more than 500 people, and like just every like other sentence professor saying an absolute like wave of keyboard typing sounds that always just like sent me for like a whirlwind. I was like, I don't even know what everyone's writing. Everyone's saying like I'm just tapping right now. It's so weird. Um, yeah, I think big class sizes and like adjusting to university from high school has definitely been a really interesting path. I think like it's one that everyone goes through, but I think through COVID and like out of COVID and out and just managing how we develop across time is really just an interesting thing to watch.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember the keyboard typing and I'm like, why am I not writing down? What did you guys hear that I didn't hear? But that's a skill. Learning how to take notes, even that is something that is so important. And I actually didn't use a laptop for the vast majority of my classes. We weren't supposed to bring laptops, and I always hand wrote all my notes. I know that we're moving away from cursive, but if I could give any like old timer advice, it would be to bring back the cursive and try and handwrite your notes. It's really good for your brain. It helps you memorize things a lot easier. And it stops what you're talking about, where people are writing down every single thing that's being said, because it's physically impossible when you're doing it by hand. So that is my like grandmotherly advice of bring back the cursive writing and use that and handwrite notes instead of bringing a laptop to class.
Yeah, I think a lot of students now are like using tablets or iPads, using their Apple Pencil to electronically write instead of like a physical paper and pen.
It's a good idea though. At least you have a copy then in case you spill a coffee on your notes or something like that.
Yeah. I'm not sure if now's the best time for our segment thing. Maybe it is. We'll do it now anyway.
Okay, perfect. I'm anxious.
We find across our separate lives that the liberal arts degrees tend to get a bad rep. People often, I think you mentioned when we were talking earlier that like English degree is listed as like one of the most useless degrees on like whatever research study you said. Yeah, research LinkedIn study. And I know you're very passionate about that, having English to yourself. And so we thought that it'd be fun if we gave you a 60-second timer and had you list as many things as you could do with an English degree.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
like
gonna
specific careers or like skills, or what are you?
Have fun with it. I'm not that great at direction, so you can figure it out, and I will pull up a timer, and it'll be fine.
Okay.
You can use this time to figure that out right now as I try to set up a timer. Let's see. All my timers are studying related. I'm gonna make a new one.
Do you want me to do that?
Sure. Do you want to share your screen when you're doing that as well?
Oh, I was gonna do it on my phone.
That also works. That also works.
Okay, 1 minute you said, right? Okay.
Yeah, 1 minute.
I like need to think about all the careers there are in the world. I'm like doctor, teacher, lawyer. Like my own career isn't even covered. Okay.
All right, I'll do a countdown.
Okay.
3, 2, 1.
Okay.
Go.
Teacher, professor, public relations specialist, marketing person, CEO, entrepreneur, oh my goodness, lawyer. I think I said anything in law clerk, a judge in you could be a doctor, certainly a psychiatrist would be a perfect fit. Anything in nonprofit. So whether you wanted to run a nonprofit or as an executive director, or you wanted to be a philanthropist, so that would be something like a proposal writer, or you wanted to engage with people in terms of advancement and raising funds. As I said, marketing, any arm under marketing, whether you want to be a digital marketer, whether you want to be a traditional print advertiser, you could go into design, taglines. What else could you do? You could be anything in healthcare, I think would be really important. You could be a data specialist that helps build out different systems to enhance them to align with people's needs. You could be an interior designer. Oh,
And that's time.
I hope I did okay. I'm like, what careers are there? Are there any jobs?
Yeah, I think
I could
those
have
are
said
all.
so many things. Sales definitely would be such a great thing because you learn how to sell. Writer, I didn't even say a novelist. You could be a blogger. I could go on, but yeah, apparently I can't remember careers that exist.
That's so fair. I think it's hard to do that when you're called on the spot. But I think, yeah, that's just, I think, an important thing to get out there, that like no degree is actually useless. I think you can do anything you want with an English degree, and you can go like as far as the world takes you on just whatever you have.
Well, definitely. And I think nowadays, if we look at the number of people who are getting graduate degrees, your undergraduate degree sets up the types of skills you have. It doesn't necessarily, you're not going to go from your undergraduate degree right into a career, usually. Like for me, I went to Western Continuing Studies and got a diploma. You can also look at the grad school option. You could do a co-op. Like there's really a lot of great ways to make your career work. So you're getting a dual degree, right, Rose? Is that what you said? You're getting, or a double major. So you can look at Brescia, we're trying to build on our partnership with Ivy and hopefully looking at growing the breadth and depth of the dual degree offerings. So then you can pursue your passion. Say like me, you love poetry, you love English, you love writing, and then you could get a dual degree with an institution like Ivy. So you have that business component and then you have the English component. And I think that with the affiliate community and going to Western proper would be like, there are so many programs. You can specialize in like 18th century Japanese literature. Like you can, because there's so many incredible professors there, you can find, if you love it, you can find it on Western syllabi. So look at that and then get a dual degree, do a double major, and already you have like an incredible skill set that is just so far ranging and bigger knowledge. So yeah, definitely don't silo yourself, and applying to grad school, an English degree is like the perfect thing because you know you're going to have a hot fire portfolio because your essay is going to really be amazing. So yeah, and that small classroom piece that we've chatted about, if you know your professor, you're trying to get a job, you're trying to get into a research study or go to graduate school, having a professor who's taught you all 4 years, knows you all 4 years. Some of the reference letters that I've read for students are beyond, they're so personalized. They talk about, you know, student A from first year, and I taught them through to 4th year. Here's how they've grown. Here's what they've contributed. To have that is just so helpful and can really help take your career in all different directions. So yes, I hope I did the English degree justice because I love it so much.
Yeah, I think you definitely did.
Thank you.
Mind. I had another question. It was top of my mind that I think it fell out by accident. Oh boy. Oh, okay, yes. With your path and where it's taking you right now, do you think if there's anything like in the upcoming future that you're trying to make happen, and like whether that be in your career currently or like a future you want to see soon or
Okay.
far? Yeah.
I will just aim really big. That's, you know, I definitely I see myself at Brescia for the long term. So I'd love to have my portfolio here. I'd love for it to grow. So I have Director of Marketing Communications, External Relations, talk about long titles.
Mhm.
And I love the external relations piece so much. I like building bridges between organizations and individuals. So I'd love over time to see how I can really grow that portfolio. And I'd like to do it in a way that does an authentic service to our strategic initiatives that focus a lot on equity, diversity, inclusion, and decolonization. I'd love to see what other organizations are doing really meaningful things for the various communities that we want to be more inclusive of and really serve in an authentic way. So I hope that that's something that I can do more of in the future. And so, yeah, I hope to be at Brescia and maybe grow my portfolio here would be great. And then in terms of my freelance, I'd really love to support other freelance writers who are looking to establish themselves or grow their client list. So if anyone can find me on LinkedIn, if you're looking to do something like that, I would be happy to provide, I don't know, tips sounds like I know what I'm doing, but we'll go with tips or connections or anything like that. And same with people who are interested in getting into communications or marketing or whatever it may be. I go to high schools and talk to classes about the value of a liberal arts degree, but always I'm happy to help students, new grads in their careers. We hire a lot of work study students at Brescia. We hire a lot of new grads. And I do that purposefully because, again, it's about your attitude. It's about the enthusiasm you bring through the door rather than if you have a huge, extensive work experience portfolio. So certainly that's something I want to do more of. I think it would be a little bold to say I want to mentor people. I feel like I'm not sure if I'm quite there, but if anyone thought that my ideas or help would be useful, I certainly would love to do more of that as I get more mature in my career. So I think just taking what I'm doing now and trying to leave the world a little bit better than I found it, if I can do that in any way, shape, or form, which will most likely look at empowering other people to do that. That's what I'd really like to do more of. Our world really needs it. You look on the news and having a little girl at home and being like, is this the best we can do? Like treating each other like this and treating our planet like this? I don't think so. I think we can do a lot better. And if there's any small thing that I can try and contribute, I will be humbled and happy to do so.
Fantastic answer. Thank you.
Well, and I hope you guys will let me know what you get up to and if there's ever anything I can do to support you. It's amazing that you're doing this podcast. I'm sure it takes a lot of work, and for you to hop on first thing this morning and to chat with me, it really means a lot. It's really exciting. I am definitely not far gone enough in my career that I don't think this is really cool. I was like telling everybody, I'm like, I'm going on a podcast. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
So told my daughter, she doesn't know what a podcast is, but one day we talked about this. She's hopefully going to listen and probably be embarrassed saying, Mom, you talk too much, which that's.
I can shout her out right now if you wanted to.
Yeah,
You can
Lillian. Yes, Lillian, my pride and joy. She's I think you always want to do better in the world, but once you have a kid and it's like, so in 25 years, what have I set you up for? Like, what's the world going to look like? And I'm particularly sensitive to the fact that she's a girl and, I want her right now, like Fortune 500 companies, Fortune magazine just celebrated for the first time ever, 10% of Fortune 500 CEOs are women. 10%. We are 49.8% of the population. How does that representation make sense when we know how capable and incredible women are? So even that one small thing, it's like, we've got to shift that needle. Before I retire, we're seeing that amount increase, I hope. And there's so many other things, just making the world a more caring and loving and safer place for everybody. So they all have the opportunity to go to an amazing university like Western or Brescia, and that they have the opportunities that should be equal for everybody, not in alignment with like socioeconomic circumstance. So those are all the things I hope to do. Probably a lot to bite off, but I will do my best.
Yeah. Like you'll be able to do everything you want.
Oh, well, thank you. I feel the same about you guys, I think. I was not overly involved in university. I went to the library for far too long, went home, and that was my routine. So for you guys to put yourselves out there and to be managing this, it's, just another thing you can add to your portfolio and your experiences. And I'm sure you get to meet a lot of cool people, which never hurts. Not myself included, just to be clear. But yeah, so does that answer your question about what I hope my future self will be up to?
Yeah, it certainly does. Plenty. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you. And for your guys' next steps, like what if we don't put a timeline on it, do you have like a big dream that you're hoping to realize one day?
I don't.
No, that's all right.
I don't, but I think vaguely I just want to be financially stable and be happy in the future.
That's perfect.
I think
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah.
I think financial stability is definitely in the goals. Definitely one of the top things I want. I want to be able to work in healthcare in a way that like makes me comfortable. I think I used to have this like not unhealthy per se, but I had this perspective of like, oh, being a doctor would be like all of these things. I don't know if I want that, but like that I also want to work in healthcare. And I think I realized that there's like definitely more that I can do in healthcare than just be a doctor. And I want to be able to get there and make it my own and make whatever I'm doing a comfortable and fun space and while helping people in health. Yeah.
That's great. Well, I mean, it's to say that you want to be financially stable and happy, like that's a great goal. And however you achieve it, that's a good goal to have and to keep with you, right? Like then when you're making those little decisions, it's like, is this going to take me closer to being happy and comfortable, or is it taking me in a direction that I'm not comfortable with? And I think to have those kind of guiders on, and same with your values, like when you're young, you can get jostled around a lot, but what are the things you're not willing to sacrifice? And have those kind of questions in the back of your mind when you're interviewing with an organization, or when you're seeing like those salary dollar signs flash in your eyes, just, am I going to feel good at the end of this day? And that's something that's really important and hard to do. It's hard to, in a lot of industries, we're seeing, these CEOs who are, it comes out that blank has happened, or like a board was doing X because they wanted to put profit above everything else. So it's really hard, I think, and we're so hard on people nowadays, like, which you want to hold people accountable, but I also like would just love to see people knowing like life is difficult for a lot of people, and everyone may not show up and be their very best every day. But I think if you can pick maybe 3-5 values that you're not willing to shake, that's a really good kind of starting foundation to have. And in terms of the finances, I don't think anyone is born knowing how to deal with finances. And like, there's a lot of courses. I know Western puts on workshops, and you could easily do something with your bank just to like learn how to invest. I certainly had no idea, didn't know anything about real estate. I kind of showed up and I was like, that house looks nice, or like that rent seems reasonable. But like to know how to invest and save and everything, that's a fundamental skill that we should have all been taught in high school or somewhere along the way. But certainly having a little bit of knowledge in that sphere will help. And that's coming from someone who has no knowledge in that sphere. So if you learn about financial savviness, please connect me with whichever resource that you're using.
Okay, will do.
Yes.
Okay. Well, it has been lovely to talk to you. We both really appreciate you coming out, taking time in the morning to talk to us. And yeah, do you have any last words you want to share?
I feel like I spoke too much, so not really. I just want to thank you guys both very much for having me. I really like getting to talk about Brescia, and hopefully, if anyone takes away from this, it's just to take it easy on yourself, take your time, really try and be kind, and like not just to other people, but to yourself, because we're all still healing from something really big that happened, and life is up and down and ebbs and flows, and you'll get there. So that is really all my big piece of advice that I wish I would have known when I was younger. It's, you're going to make really bad mistakes, and hopefully you surround yourself with people who are going to help you to come back from them and to learn from them, and create a life that you can be proud of. So I wish that for, all of us, that we can live a great life, because if each individual is happy in what they're doing, it's going to make the world a happier place, right? Happy people exude that, and they share it with other people. So I think that's really important, to take care of yourself, and then you can take care of other people.
Well,
Yeah.
Nice.
thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
If people
Let me
would,
know when you're working on your LinkedIn.
Oh.
We'll work on it together, because I need you guys both to have your LinkedIn. That's important. So you just shoot me an email.
I have one, but it's not like perfected yet.
Okay. It's a journey, but yes, Emmanuel, I look forward to seeing your LinkedIn. So please connect with me, and we can write you a really cool bio. That's how I'll say thank you for you guys having me on your podcast. I'll write you a LinkedIn bio.
Well, I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for having me, and just let me know what the next steps are, and if you need anything else from me.
Yeah, we'll do, of course.
Okay, great. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Yes, you too. Have a very happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
Okay. Bye.
Hi again. Thank you for listening to the Voices of Western podcast. We've been your hosts, Rose and Emmanuel. Feel free to follow the Humans of Western Instagram account at humans_Western, on TikTok, Humans of Western, as well as our YouTube channel, Humans of Western.
Yeah. For more of our podcasts, check out Voices of Western on all podcast platforms. Thanks for listening, and have a great day.